What if the discount code box on your checkout page is the single most damaging thing on your website? Today's guest spent 30 years as an enterprise consultant advising airlines, petrochemical giants, and construction firms across the Middle East and North America, and how high-stakes negotiations actually work. Not how people say they negotiate, how they actually behave when real money is on the table. And he watched over and over again. Was that moment you train a buyer to expect a discount, you've lost them. Not just the sale, every future sale. So he built an AI that negotiates instead in real time on behalf of the merchant, and it's closing high-ticket sales that would otherwise be abandoned. His name is Mansoor Osmani. He's the founder of DBargain and president of CLCI, the Corporate Life Center International. And the story he's going to tell you about a $500,000 Mercedes in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, is one of the best illustrations of biopsychology I've heard. Stay with us. My guest today has one of the most unusual parts to SaaS founder I've come across. Mansoor Osmani spent over 3 decades as a certified management consultant building what he calls high-performance organizations for clients including Saudi Arabian airlines, major petrochemical companies in Saudi Arabia, and multinational construction firms across the Middle East and North America. In that time, he's watched thousands of high-stakes negotiations play out. Government contracts, enterprise deals, and as you'll hear, a particular kind of negotiation that happens at Mercedes-Benz dealerships in Jeddah that changed how he thinks about pricing entirely. That 30-year education in human behavior became the foundation of DBargain, an AI-powered negotiation engine that lets shoppers on Shopify and custom e-commerce stores negotiate prices in real time. Not a coupon, not a flash sale, a genuine autonomous negotiation where the AI accepts, counters, or holds firm based on the rules the merchant sets. Target market is high-ticket items, $500 and above. So think luxury goods, fine art, diamonds, premium outdoor equipment, categories where the conventional discount playbook is quietly destroying margins and brand equity at the same time. Mansoor, welcome to the Predictable B2B Success podcast. I've been looking forward to this one. Let's start at the beginning because the product only makes sense once you understand what you saw over 3 decades of watching people negotiate for real. You have been helping organizations like Saudi Arabian Airlines and other companies that I mentioned building high-performance operations. At some point, though, you decided to build a SaaS product. Could you walk me through the moment you realized there was a product hiding inside everything you learned about human behavior and negotiation?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much, Vinay, for that flattering introduction. I am thrilled to be with you. I have been watching your podcast and you're bringing innovative ideas to the table and having discussions, which is phenomenal. First of all, as you said, I've been watching and seeing what happens in the sales psychology when somebody is trying to buy something, whether I'm not talking about very small items, but like you said, the high ticket items. Now, what happens is after watching it for so long, I started studying what really is the killer app of the future, if I may. And I heard NVIDIA's president one time describing that the future app that will really be a killer app will be the app that will automate a process which is currently not automated, an obvious one. And that happened to be a sales process in which, and specifically in the e-commerce industry. So why e-commerce industry? When I studied this further, the most sales that happens is happening in the e-commerce today. The industry is about $7 trillion today, going up to multiple $1 trillion within the next few years. And e-commerce is one of those things that every Tom, Dick, and Harry, if I may, has an e-commerce store if they want to sell something. Now, if they have big ticket items, like you said, collectibles, artist designs and art artifacts and other gifts, they're putting it on an e-commerce store. Now, the only hook there is that on an e-commerce store, generally, there is a price given to a product, right? And then whether you buy the product or not is your decision, and whether you like that price or not is your pure decision. Now, what happens is that a human psyche, Everybody likes to brag about, hey, you know what? I got this for so much from somewhere. And everybody says, oh my goodness, I paid so much less, or I paid it a real bargain price. And that psyche works for most of the high ticket items. Now, what I decided was, since e-commerce is such a huge growing industry and bargaining is such a important aspect of sales, why not use the agentic AI to do autonomous bargaining while the shopkeeper sleeps at night 24/7 without any interruption, without any human interaction? Now, I faced a lot of, in the initial stages of studying the AI models, I faced quite a bit pushback from the experts. They're saying, look, AI tools, especially agentic AI, hallucinates, right? It creates a discussion which a buyer might not like. The initial model that I developed, this product, by the way, is called DBargain, for digital bargain. And the initial models that were in the labs were really pumping out some very derogative languages to the buyer. If they see a product and he says, hey, let's go, you want a better price than what you are looking at, and then they gave a price, and then it came back and it said something like, oh, have you ever bought anything like this? Or some really a remark that a buyer will never like. Then we had to train the model to, hey, listen, this has to be a business language. This has to be polite. You never have to offend the buyer. He's a buyer. At the end of the day, he's a client. And after lots of tries, we've got an MVP, which is now on Shopify with the name DBargain. And we have few users that are using it successfully. One of the biggest artists in Canada, Gary Smith, has his website on Shopify, and he's selling his paintings on that. Another person that is doing a very unique business, which is the wardrobe. He designs executive wardrobes, and he's using it. And I'm talking to a merchant, a diamond merchant in New York, who is thinking of using it as well. So this is the start of the journey. Now, how I got here from where you described was, I had this opportunity of working a lot of years in Saudi Arabia and in different parts of the Middle East and in Canada. And I noticed specifically in that culture, bargaining is a norm. And I was once sitting with a friend of mine at a showroom, at a car showroom, and somebody walks in and looks at the 500 SL, and then he took it for a spin. He came back, put the keys down, and he says, okay, akhir kalam. Akhir kalam means, what's your last price? And I was taken aback, and I was going, okay, this guy is buying a $500,000 car and he's looking for a bargain. So this is a human psyche, Vinay. And that's what I have tried to bring out in the bargain.
Okay, with that story that you tell about a buyer who could clearly afford a S-Class Mercedes-Benz for costs about $500,000, asking for a discount, taking away the cultural aspects of that particular incident, what did it reveal to you about the psychology of high-value purchasing?
The basic thing, like I said, the basic psychology is that people who want such an item are still inside them looking for a good price. Why do they go around and shop? Why do they go back and forth? Why do they go back to the salesman and look at other features and stuff like that? Inside them, there is a psyche working. It's nice, but it would be nicer if I get it for a better price. And that's the psyche. And I'm not talking about $500,000 items all the time. I'm talking about $500 item, $1,000 item, $1,500 items, right? If you can get 20, 30% discount on them, that's so much the better. Now, what is the recourse for e-commerce stores at this time? E-commerce store go out and do all of these sales, right? Christmas sales, New Year's sales, February sale for Valentine's Day and so forth, and Black Fridays and Black Mondays and so forth. The whole idea behind it is to give a bargain to the buyer, and everybody is looking for that bargain. Now, how about if you have a bot that can turn your e-commerce store in a continuous bargaining platform, making purchasing fun? And here is a win-win for the buyer and the seller both, right? The buyer wants to buy it on a better price. the seller definitely wants to get rid of the items. And how about those sellers that have items sitting in the stock for months and they are not pushing? What do? They go out and they hand out coupons. Everybody from grocery stores to any shop hand out coupon. A lot of shops put a price and then cross that price and say it's on sale from this date to this date. All of them are inside working on a bargaining concept that everybody wants prices to be brought down and stuff to be bargained, right? Why not create an AI in this day and age where AI agent is just about taking over any kind of a business function? Why not train an AI agent to properly do bargaining within given guided sort of parameters, right? Another worry that the AI agent as a salesperson is that the AI agent would probably give away the item for very cheap. Now, that is where the DBargain parameter setting process takes place, right? So the seller goes and says, okay, here's my price. I'm willing to take up to 20% less, right? But not necessarily all the time. So let my buyers go for a fun ride on trying to negotiate the price down, but never go down less than 80% of the price, right? Let my buyer do a little bit of fun activity with my e-commerce store, but guided, okay? It's not programmed to give you three iteration of bargaining all the time. No, the bargaining iteration is all random. So you could go in and do bargaining on a product one time and tell your friend, hey, go to this website and it gave me three chances to give a better price. He can go there and he probably gets only two, or maybe he gets five. It all depends on how the seller has set it up. So this becomes now a more fun game. Oh, you only got three chances. I got five chances to get a better price. I got an even better price than you. And those are the type of fun activity we wanted to create in the sales process, which is otherwise very serious, right? There's a product to be sold. Merchant wants to sell the product, seller wants to sell, buyer wants to buy. And then here is the price in the middle of all of this. We did quite a bit of research on it, and I'll talk more about that as we go. I'll let you barge in here and ask some questions. I know you have questions in your mind.
Sure. That story about the Mercedes-Benz dealership gets to something you said to me before, that bargaining is human psychology, not cultural behavior. Most Western e-commerce is built on the exact opposite assumption. Fixed price, zero friction, one-click checkout. Where did that assumption come from, and why do you think it's wrong?
It's because they want quick sales. Now, are they getting quick sales? Let me ask you, what is the conversion rate of an e-commerce store today?
Would have no idea. I don't deal very much.
Let me give you a number here. Let me give you a number here, and then you will
Sure.
start thinking why it is so important. Less than 3%, my friend. So 100 people that come to your website, look at a product, 100, out of the 100, probably two or three will purchase. So you're letting 97 people not buy that product because you put a fixed price on it. Okay? So now you see, you turn the table around and you look at it from the other perspective. Why don't I go and try to grab few percent of those 97%? There's a big discussion about conversion rates on e-commerce. Go to any e-commerce conference and everybody's talking about how do we increase the conversion rate? Okay. And that's why they put sales, they put all kinds of fancy stuff to attract customers, right? Why not have an autonomous AI agent do that for
Sure.
you under a guided sort of parameter circumstances? Okay.
Uh, so the basis for the assumption that fixed price e-commerce is the way to go, or traditionally has been the way to go, would you say that has stemmed primarily from Western style retail sales, and that's just carried over into e-commerce?
Something like that, because they didn't know anything better.
Mm,
Like here in the West, I'm in Canada, you're in Australia, and I'm sure in US, UK, and Canada, everywhere else in the Western world, they don't know anything better. they put a price, right? Now, how many times have we gone to some place and it's not in our psyche to go and see a product and say, are you willing to bargain for this? We don't. But
Mhm.
inside we want to. That's just the point that I want to bring out. In the sort of loneliness of your own computer and you and sitting in your bedroom buying something, if you don't have to talk to somebody for reducing the price, if the AI agent can do it for you, you will really like it. You will say, you know what? Just think about anything you bought, any collectible you bought recently, and you say, you know what? It would have been great if I would have gotten it for a little less than what I
Mhm.
paid for it. That's in you, right? That's just the common psyche. The point is, we never probed it. We never brought it out. When we addressed it the other way, we said, we'll give you 20% discount. What are we saying here? You have an option of either buying it for less than 20% during this period of time. So we are doing the same thing, but calling it different. We're calling it coupons, we're calling it sales, we're calling it seasonal sales and stuff like that
Mhm.
to push the inventory out. Why don't we do it 24/7? Why don't we do it round the clock? Why do we have to wait for Christmas to get things cheaper? Why do we have to wait for Boxing Day sales to get things cheaper? Why can't we do that normally without any barrier of any specific time frame? Okay.
Mhm.
And again, sorry, go ahead. Go. You have a question, and
I was just wanting to explore more of the psychology there because it's in most Western style retail experiences and perhaps even to a large extent e-commerce experiences, there is this discount treadmill, the mechanism by which a store owner who runs, say, a 20% off promotion in November is perhaps damaging their ability to sell full price in March. And I'm curious to get your take on what is happening psychologically in the buyer's mind when they
the
see
buyer
that.
is basic. Yeah. So see, most of the time, you would know anybody. My kids, when they're going to buy something, they say, okay, you know what? Let's just wait for Christmas sale to come and then we will buy this stuff. Why is that? Because their psychology is that they want to buy it cheaper than what it
Mhm.
is today. And they've been programmed that way, right? All merchants have been doing it. Now, that is fine when you have a store. What about
Mhm.
e-commerce store? What's the difference between a physical store and an e-commerce store? Where do we draw the line? Why can't the electronic commerce or sorry, e-commerce store have a different mechanism for discounting other than the conventional coupons and seasonal sales? That's the idea. That's where I'm trying to hit it. As an e-commerce store, you should think more about we should do things differently. We have now a process of automation of convincing a customer to buy something. And believe me, you think about it, price is a one major barrier in purchases, a
Mhm.
huge barrier. Anything that you put up for, let's say, $1,000 today, if you reduce it to $800 tomorrow, you probably will sell a lot more than you have sold it for $1,000. Why
Mhm.
don't you grab that chance 24/7, 365 days? Why do you wait for that? So it's a mindset. So saying that in the West bargaining doesn't work is I don't buy that. In the West, bargaining works even more
Mhm.
because all these sales are mostly in the West, right? And why are these sales? These sales are because they want to buy, the sellers want the buyers to buy their stuff, even if they pay less. That's the psyche. Now, what they do is they wait for a certain date to come and then say, you know what? Wait, Christmas is coming around the corner. When Christmas comes, I'll bring this down 20%. Why? Okay, you're a physical store, you could do that because Christmas time, holiday time, people come, they have holidays, they go shopping. Why can't you do that 24/7, 365? That's my question to you. Why
Mhm.
can't I have a perpetual sale at my store, at my at my e-commerce store?
Certainly.
That's the idea.
Yeah. And I forget when this happened, but I think J.C. Penney tried to eliminate discounts cold turkey at one point and nearly destroyed the brand. So that tells us a fair bit about the psychology of people there.
Yeah. Anytime you think about any example, if anybody in a store, and especially I'm talking about e-commerce store. My focus is e-commerce. I'm not offering this to physical stores because physical stores people go and buy stuff. These are the shopping centers, the malls, the big stores. I'm talking about e-commerce site. And now, see another interesting thing. All the stores, physical stores that are there, the big mega stores, have their e-commerce website.
Yeah.
And they have more product on the e-commerce website. A lot of time we go to the store, we don't find the item, we find it on their e-commerce or on their online stores. So the online sales is increasing because people are not now buying from the comfort of their home. Why should they drag themselves to the store to the store? So that means e-commerce or online stores are increasingly selling. And that is also a reflection of how many stores are closing down nowadays. Okay. So this is a trend. This is a trend that's just only going to increase with the more powerful AI, the more powerful internet connections, the more easy to make stores. Like Shopify has made the store making very easy, a breeze. Templates, you pick up a template, you put your product, you put your description, wait, you go next day or 2 days, you have opened up a store and I kid you not, your store is round the clock across the world. Your store is not on Oxford Street only. It is on Fifth Avenue. It's on every big store location in the world because it's accessible by anybody sitting anywhere. So can you see the power of what we are heading into? The online sales power?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
I,
and
I
what?
was, I've seen for a while now an interesting behavior of people, especially in retail stores, as they come in. That if they see something of interest, they'll pull out their phone, take a picture, and almost immediately start scanning for a better price.
You're telling me price matching.
Yeah,
What is price matching? Isn't that bargaining at the end of the day?
yeah,
Okay. You put your price less, I put my price lesser than yours, right? The stores are now marking prices based on other stores' prices. So that's competition, right? But
mm,
why are they making prices better? Because the 97 people that didn't buy, 60% of that are because of the price. Maybe 30% will be because they didn't like the product, which is fine. If you don't like something, you will not buy it no matter what. But if you like something and you don't buy it, why don't you buy it? You either wait for a sale to happen. The seller then goes on and says 20% discount and say, oh, yeah, now I can get it. Why can't he get it any other time? Why does he
mm,
have to wait for a sale? So you see where I'm coming at, where I'm thinking,
yeah,
what I'm thinking about? Yeah.
yeah,
And
certainly.
that's the philosophy behind that.
Here's something that I want to understand mechanically. When a
Mhm.
buyer makes a price offer through DBargain, what
Mhm.
does the AI actually do in the next few seconds? What rules or signals is it processing before it responds?
Okay, so the first thing that happens is the buyer goes to a e-commerce store, picks up a product. This is what they 100% of the time they do.
Sorry,
They look at
when you say pick up, as in they put
like
it in
out of the
cart
list of
or
all the products. Yes, no, it's just selects a product to
okay,
look at. No. If he goes to the cart, you don't want to bother it. You just
sure,
went boom. He came in, he bought, he left. You
okay,
say, thank you very much. I got your money. You got my product. We're all happy. If he hasn't gone to the checkout counter, a couple of things are happening. He's thinking about it. He's looking at the description and everything, which is also fine. And most probably at the back of his or her mind is the price. Always. He's even looking at the description. So, okay, this is $100 or $500. At that time, debargain kicks in after a certain amount of few seconds, and that is set by the seller. Okay, the seller knows his buyer's behavior. Okay, how many pages are browsed, and how long does a person spend on a page? If a person spends 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50
mm,
seconds, you put that as a threshold of popping up the bargaining option and say, hey, you know what? While he's browsing it, while he or she is still thinking if I should buy it or not, a pop-up comes and says, do you know you can buy it for a better price? Right away, the light bulbs go on inside. Oh, I have that option. I didn't know. Yeah. Do you want me to make you a deal? Then he says, okay, here, the AI agent says, here's a product for a very small discount, let's say 5%. Do
mm,
you like that price or you want to have a discussion? You say, no, I want to have a discussion. Of course, he said, if I've got 5%, I could get 10, I could get 15. And then starts the discussion. So back and forth they go, they talk. How about this much? No, no, this much. Can you raise it a little bit? And we make it a little bit more professional and a bit more interesting and indulging. Oh, you're coming very close. One more chance and you might get it. And then you go, okay, you know what? And then before the last chance comes, he said, this is your last chance to make a good bid. And then he said, okay, this is my last chance. I better give a better price. If he or she gives a price which is under the threshold of selling, says, congratulations, you have bought the product. This is, and then it takes you to the checkout counter. So we're only intervening when the person is not going to the checkout counter. He or she is just browsing through the product. So that's the first mechanics of it. And then within that intervention, there are three things we are controlling. Number one, well, the two things we are controlling. Number one, how many different iteration of bargaining you will give him or her for that product. Okay. And that's also totally programmable, controlled by the merchant in the background. So you would say a buyer comes and he goes, okay, I'm going to drop the price $1 every time and I'm going to keep on negotiation all night. You're not going to get that. After three or four, whatever is set up by the seller, is going to say, okay, now you got one more chance, give a good price. Otherwise, we could consider that you can go and look for the product. You know what I mean? So you're just engaging him in a very nice way to a point where if he's a serious buyer and he or she is willing to buy it, he'll give you a good price. And if the price falls in that range, you're going to grab it.
Okay, certainly.
Okay.
The number of iterations in the discussion is one. What's the other?
The percentage of discount you're going to give. Okay, so what's the maximum percent? And that nobody knows. That they don't know. The seller knows only. Okay, so the seller knows what the percentage of discount, the maximum percentage of discount I can give, and the buyer is trying out to get to that percentage after some tries.
So is the AI capable of learning over time as it watches?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question. So any other AI agent, it's trained every deal. It's trained on not only what product is selling, who is buying it, okay, and what time of the year is this. So all those components that are important, right? Why do you start seeing all the winter stuff comes in September and October? I'm talking about North America. I'm not talking Australia. You're the other way around, right? So come September, you'll start seeing all the winter coats and winter stuff start coming out, right? Because that's a season for that, right? So the AI keeps on learning on every negotiation it does. It also keeps on learning about buyer's behavior. Okay. So Vinay is a big spender. Vinay will come and he couldn't care less. If I give him 5% discount for the sake of getting a better price, he will go for it. Okay. Whereas Mansoor is a very, I would say, savvy buyer. He's saying, no, let me try more and let me get a better discount. Let me get a better. So I'm knowing both. Next time Mansoor comes, I start off from a different plateau. Next time Vinay comes, I start off from a different plateau. So it's learning as well and being tweaked every time the store is, the DBargain AI bot is used. So the stores that have DBargain over a period of time are going to do smarter and smarter sales, more optimized sales to their customers.
So it learns over time. What about learning about a particular user's interactions and behavior over time? So, for example, let's say I go to an e-commerce store, enter into a negotiation, but I'm not willing to make the purchase yet. So I shut down my browser and walk away. Maybe I come back in a day or two and restart the negotiation. Is it able to learn where things were left off based on maybe
Up to the
IP?
point of your device URL, nothing more than
Okay.
that. So it is not getting into your personal stuff. It can get
Okay.
into your personal stuff until you allow it to, right? So up to the point that, oh, you come back from that, like anything else, when you go back to your browser the next time, the browser tells you from the browser history what were the sites you had been to before, right? So when and how does it know? It remembers the URLs and it keeps on scrolling at the bottom, right? So it remembers so many URLs. So every time a product comes, it says, okay, yeah, there is a URL in Australia, it's laptop or device or iPhone. And I remember that he was here before and he's seen this before. I don't know anything about Vinay until Vinay tells me, right? But I know that you have been looking for it. Now, how do you think nowadays the systems are you try and buy something and you go away and you come back 2 days later and you find similar stuff. How do you find people like Amazon are coming up and sending you email? We found something that you may like. How do they know that? Because you looked at something similar to that. Okay. You type a vacation in Canada and then you come back after 2 days and will start prompting you various vacation locations in Canada. Okay. You want to go see CN Tower in Toronto, or you want to go see Banff in Western Canada, or whatever. So this is the intelligence that is there without invading anybody's privacy, right? Without you telling any more detail. But of course, if you went ahead and you purchased something, now you've given out your identity, right? Now, even that Shopify or the platform controls it. We don't get it until they authorize us to use it. So the privacy is very important here. We don't want to be sniffing into and looking at others' shopping carts and saying, okay, this guy bought this until he's okay with that. Until he says, yeah, okay, he signs an acceptance to that I accept the cookies. Okay. And if they accept the cookies, then this is a norm nowadays, right? If you don't accept the cookies, you have your own privacy setting. You set it up and you say, I don't want anybody to know what I purchased. That's fine. And you have the right to do that.
Where does the current AI thinking not work so well? Are there any
The
particular scenarios?
Yes, there are many scenarios, and that's like that is what one of the things that we have to always remember. AI hallucinates. AI has no limits. AI can take control if you allow it to. So you have to consider all of those things and guard your AI agent to work within certain limits and boundaries, because you can't let it go haywire. Okay, it will start handing out stuff for less than your cost if you do that. It'll start annoying your customers if you do that. It'll start asking questions that the buyers doesn't like, and you don't want that, right? So there are lots of limitations. We have to always remember AI hallucinates, and AI needs to be guided. It needs to be trained. The better you train it, the more you train it, the more it behaves as per your needs. The least you train it, the more chances there are that it will go in a different direction and probably kick off something which you never wanted. So there is a very careful balancing act you have to play, whereas you have to use it for the sake of making the sale, but not use it for anything that is detrimental to your brand or to your store, or even crossing any legal boundaries that will put you in any kind of a situation.
Okay. So what does onboarding look like when you're first trying to deploy it?
About 10 to 15 minutes max. You
Okay.
go to Shopify store, you search DBargain with the name DBargain, it will show up. You go there is a small sample store. You can go and look at the sample store. Then you click on install. And as soon as you click on install, it comes to us and we provide step-by-step guidance in videos, which are short 30 seconds videos, which basically tell you this is the first step, this is second. The installation site is also very logical, and it just tells you first you have to set up the team, then you have to set up the product, then you have to set up the store, then the product, and then you can go in and then you have all your products in there. You can select each product and set up this bargaining parameters. So it's step by step, store-wide parameters, product-wide parameters, and they all work under a certain date frame, right? So start this from this date and end it on this date. So you can have perpetual, you can even guide it and say, okay, I want to try it for a month and see what goes on. And then you have a dashboard where you see, okay, how many bargainings have happened on which product and how many were successful.
Okay.
And then you can go back and tweak your parameters and say, okay, I have to break down my percentage or give more discount because it's really not selling, it's not working. So that sort of stuff can happen.
So the seller's dilemma you described is interesting. If you've privately decided you'll accept up to 30% off, you don't actually have to give 30%. A buyer who opens negotiation might be happy with 5%.
Yes.
So how does DBargain protect that flaw? And do you have any data on the gaps between the maximum configured and what buyers actually settle for?
If the buyer settles for lesser discount, it's better for the seller, isn't it? Because the seller says, I'm willing to give it for 30% discount. And the seller and the buyer settles for only 10% discount. It's so much better for you. Much better than giving a 30% coupon, because the 30% coupon will never fetch you more than 70% of the price. Whereas a 30% discount barrier in DBargain might fetch you the product or sell the product for 20% discount, 10% discount, 25% discount, up to 30%. So it really works wonders for the seller, because seller is no more fixed discounting. Seller is telling
Hmm.
an AI agent how much discount I can give. And the AI agent is then working under that limit and that parameter and trying to sell it as close to the discount, as less, giving as less discount as they can, right? But never more than what they should. So that's the key.
Okay, you're able to, as the manager of a store, you're able to enter in the maximum discount that you're willing
Yes,
to provide, and
yes,
that's protected. The AI protects that. It doesn't go
yeah. And AI
below that.
cannot go more than that. Yeah.
Okay, and now assuming that it gets triggered over numerous instances and finds that, say, the most people are willing to settle for is 10%, does that allow for the AI to then pretty much focus on that 10% mark or less as opposed to going for that full 30%?
No, the AI wouldn't take that decision by itself.
Okay.
It's the store owner's onus is on the store owner, because you still own the store, you still own
Okay.
the product. The final decision is yours. We're not letting AI to then say, okay, 5 times out of 7, I've sold it for 10% discount. So why should I have 20% discount? I should remove that. I should just leave 10%. No, it's the store owner that should go at the back end and say, okay, I could probably just try for only 10% discount, not 20%. But the final decision about what is the barrier or what is the parameter is the store owners, because the store owner still owns the product. And
Okay. Yeah.
in no way you want the AI to encroach onto that authority and say, oh, I felt that everybody's buying it for 20% discount, so I actually went in and I increased the discount. No, you can't do that.
Uh,
AI will not be allowed to do, or decrease it. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you've ever had the experience, and perhaps this is more prevalent in the Middle East, where a store owner who has had a number of experiences gets a feel for the discount that most people go for. And he
Mhm.
usually, with his bargaining skills, tries to aim for that 10%, even though he can go to 30%, because that's what most
Yes.
people go for.
Yes, but
So
that's all
unless he's
human intent. Sorry.
yeah, so I just want to clarify that the AI isn't quite there yet in terms of being able to make that decision based on a number of conversations and experience.
It can if you want it, but you don't want it. That's the
Okay.
thing. Because that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
You can use AI to a certain extent, but at the moment that it starts to invade your own decision making, you got to stop it. You got to
Mhm.
just keep it under control. That is one of the things, like I said, hallucination. I keep on saying that. You
Yep.
got to keep the AI bot under control. If you let it loose, it can go havoc. It will create havoc,
Mm.
okay? It can go crazy. So you want to, okay, I understand the human interaction, the human salesperson says, oh, I can sell it for, I don't have to give more than 10% discount, so I should always only give 10%. No, that's a human interaction. That's
Mhm.
something that we don't want to take away from the store owner's own authority, right? It can, if it wants. If he wants that, then you can say, okay, minimum discount I want to give is 30%, maximum discount I can give is 50%. It can allow that to AI, but I wouldn't advise that, because AI
Mhm.
will quickly catch up to that. And then before he will be selling everything for 50% discount, and you don't want to do that. So,
Yeah.
so keep some control. You have good tools. It's only a click away. You can go click on the product in DBargain in the back end and then say, okay, I'm going to change that 20% to 25% or 20% to 10%. You can do that yourself. You should do it yourself. You should not let the machine
Mm.
take that decision for you. Okay. Because that's a very important decision. It's
Yeah.
your product you're selling, and you don't want that control to be given to an AI agent.
Certainly. You've worked quite extensively in Saudi Arabia, a culture where bargaining is so embedded that even people wanting to buy a Mercedes-Benz negotiate. But your product is designed for North American and global e-commerce. How much of what you learned in the Middle East translated directly, and where did you have to adapt?
Okay, so a couple of things. The product is not only designed for North America, to be clear, or to the West. It's designed for global audience to start
Okay.
with. So that's one thing. And what I have just thought about and what I'm seeing now is that the psyche of bargaining is in Western society as well. It just doesn't come out that way. It
Hmm.
comes out in a different way by giving discount, by having all these fancy seasonal discounts. So the psyche is there. Okay. The only difference is that in Middle East and even in Far East, there's a lot of places where bargaining is done abundantly in the open in stores and stuff,
Hmm.
whereas in Western culture it is not as prevalent as open. But I'm trying to make that distinction go away, and I'm saying,
Hmm.
hey, we have a tool. You have a tool, whether you live in North America or you live in Middle East, doesn't matter. The buyer psyche is the same everywhere in the world. Why don't you use this tool for your benefit to sell more and to have better conversion rates, right?
So was there an aspect of negotiation that you observed in the Middle East that you felt needed to be added to the product as such,
Not
or not,
really.
not really?
Not really.
Okay,
It's not geographical bound. It has not very little to do. It's just a coincidence that I worked there, but it has. I don't want to bring the buyers culture from Middle East to North
sure.
America or
Yeah.
Western country. That buyers are buyers whether they're in the West or in the East. I am just generalizing and commonizing the buyer behavior across the board globally, right?
Mhm.
You're in Australia, I'm in Canada. Don't you have sales? Don't you have
Sure.
e-commerce store put up? It's the same thing. So whether you're in Saudi Arabia or you're in Sydney or you're in Toronto or you're in California or in London, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everybody goes for sales. So I am absolutely not bringing or trying to bring any different culture into a different. I'm
Mhm.
not trying to make a mismatch here. I'm just journalizing and looking at the buyer psyche. And I'm
Mhm.
saying every buyer has this psyche of getting stuff for a better price. And if they're given that chance, they will use that chance and that
Okay.
option.
And you mentioned it's available for global e-commerce. So does it have multilingual support?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes, yes. Work in any language, anywhere.
Sure. You use the phrase agentic AI to describe debargain. In your context, the AI is acting autonomously on behalf of the merchant, making decisions a human salesperson would typically make. What decisions is it making right now that genuinely require judgment?
Basically, like I said, since it's guided, the only judgmental decision is the price that is being offered and the price that can be offered.
Okay.
Other than that, it's in a guarded environment, right? It is not trying to judge the person who's buying in any way, shape, or form. Never, absolutely not. A buyer is a buyer, no matter who or he or she is.
Hmm.
It's a person that wants to buy a product, and you value that. And now you say, okay, I've got something that has value, and you've got something that you want to purchase, which is my stuff, and you've got something that I need, which is your money. How can we make these two things come together? Okay, where we both feeling comfortable. You're saying, oh, I got a deal. I'm saying, okay, I got a customer. So if you look at DBargain's logo, this is an interesting story I want to share with you. The logo designer that was working on it, it created that logo, which is two smiling faces that are apart. Okay. So when the sales start, the buyer and the seller are apart. When they come closer, they become a smiley face. That means now they're both happy. So it's neither of them that the agent is trying to be biased off or be judgmental about. It is both of them together that makes a sales. And that's what the agent is going for. Make a
Okay.
sales under the guided environment to please your customer and, of course, to sell your product. That's the
Mhm.
basic bottom line of what we are trying to do.
Shopify made agentic storefronts available to millions of merchants in March of 2026, can now be discovered and purchased directly inside of ChatGPT and other AI platforms without the buyer ever visiting a store. So I wonder, does that change the negotiation dynamic entirely? Is it agent to
Uh,
agent negotiation? The buyer's talking.
it would come to that. It will come to that. We are replacing human interaction with agents, right? So
Mhm.
it will. So if you set up an agent from your end to say, okay, I want to buy this, go look for it and negotiate. So then agent to agent negotiation happen. Now, both agents, and I'm assuming our agent, the DBargain agent, is working under very controlled environment.
Mhm.
Okay. So the agent to agent cannot go crazy and say, oh, voila, we did something wonderful that is not heard of. No, the agent has to still, my agent, DBargain agent, still has to treat that agent as a buyer, as a respectable buyer, and deal with it accordingly and make sure that I'm looking after the interest of my boss, which is my store owner,
Mhm.
and making sure that my customer, which is my valuable customer, has been dealt with, if it's an agent or a human being, has been dealt with accordingly, professionally.
You're not seeing this agent to agent negotiation as a separate thing. You're just treating it as part of the same workflow.
Yes,
I
because I cannot barge into creating a version for agent to agent because the business rules are the same, whether
Mhm.
it's talking to an agent to sell something or talking to a person to sell something, right? So I want to keep that aspect of human in there. No matter how much we give ourselves to AI, we still need to stay in control. And unless we stay in control, we're going to give away our freedom to do beneficial commerce, because then the commerce will become totally not only autonomous but chaotic, if I may. So we don't want to go there, at least from our end.
Your blog makes a strong argument for luxury brands that a promo code box signals mass market and disrupts the boutique experience. Some luxury brands, however, would argue the opposite, that any form of price negotiation cheapens their product and signals weakness. How do you respond to that? And is there a category of product where you'd actually advise against using debargain?
We don't take that decision. The luxury brand has to. Now, between you and me, a lot of luxury brands have a lot of dead inventories. And how they want to get rid of it is they sell it to stores to sell it further. And they give the stores the ability to reduce the price to sell it, right? Now, we're hoping that an e-commerce store that is working with a luxury brand has that kind of way from the luxury brand. So you're not going to, let's say, I don't want to name any specific luxury brand here. You're not going to XYZ to purchase something. You're going to a different company that is selling XYZ. And that company is giving you a discount. So you never can say, I got the discount from the luxury brand. So there are ways to do this because the luxury brands want to get rid of the inventory as much as any other brand wants, right? And here I want to bring another very interesting aspect that we discovered in our research. The luxury brands are one of the biggest producers of junk, if I may, of what is then called, and the name escapes me. When you have junk items, what do you call that? When they are disposed and then they are burned or done whatever with it, it creates an environmental havoc, right?
Okay, just chucked in the garbage, so to speak. And
Yes.
okay.
So that itself has its own problems, right? So
Mhm.
if there is an option where the luxury brands can appoint someone, okay, to get rid of the dead inventory and not throw them in junk and then create this waste management problem, then we are probably doing something good for the environment as well in
Sure.
creating that
Yeah.
kind of an option.
Most conversion rate optimization advice is about reducing friction, shorter forms, one-click checkout, faster pages. You're introducing what looks like more friction from a perspective in that it's a negotiation step. How do you
Correct.
reconcile that? Is there a meaningful difference between friction and engagement? And at what point does adding a step become a feature rather than a bug?
There you go. That's a very interesting point again. Yes, you want the least amount of friction, but you want a sale as well. So you have a smooth sale, come in, buy, no buy, go. Or come in, no buy, try to buy, then go. Okay. So this is the difference that you have to understand. Okay. So this is a needed friction. It's not a friction that is halting the sale. It is actually you falling into this friction scenario only when you're not buying it.
Mm,
Okay. If you're buying it, then you're not creating it. So I'm not creating any friction for anybody who comes and clicks on a product, wants to buy it, go check out, voila, that's fine. I'm creating an option. I don't call it friction, an option for somebody who's not ready to buy it if there is a better price. So it's a needed friction, a friction that will increase the conversion rate, right? So you can make the process very smooth. Everybody's coming and slipping through it. Nobody's buying it. Fine, that's what's happening. So
okay.
97% of the people are not buying it. How about if you make it, if they're not buying it, then go through this and probably they will buy it. So
Mm,
you make it a step when it's needed. You don't make it as a norm. So that
mm.
friction doesn't come as a norm. The friction comes when there is a need for that friction to create a sale, to
Yeah.
convert. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep, yeah, interesting principle there. You've spent 30 years teaching organizations how to negotiate contracts and strategy. Could the psychology encoded in DBargain apply to B2B SaaS pricing? If a SaaS founder is losing deals on price, is there a negotiation AI model that could help their sales team, or is B2B negotiation too relationship dependent for an AI to handle?
Again, it all depends on the specifics of that relationship. If it is in a situation where there's one off, it's big deals where a personal interaction is important, then you don't want to let an AI agent ruin that. But if it is a mass of transactions a day, and out of which you can pick up one or 200, which you are going to lose, then debargain can be a good option for you. This decision is totally yours. As a seller of the SaaS product, you have to think, who are my buyers? What is my buyer profile, right? Are they going to be happy to be put in front of a negotiation bot to get a better price, or are they going to get annoyed and say, "Oh, I don't want to deal with this"? There's a lot of people
Yeah.
that don't want it. But you have to know your customer, right? Your customer profile.
I was thinking of scenarios where a potential client, a B2B organization, is looking at a particular product. Now, inevitably, one of the first things they do is try to look for the price. The price may or may not be visible. That's a different scenario. But in in being able to track that kind of behavior, if the psychology, as encoded in debargain, were to be deployed on a B2B SaaS site wherein we're trying to tick off the rationale, the objections to making a purchase before we even get into a price and sales conversation. I think that could be quite useful because you're hastening the process of allowing people to enter into a sales conversation once they've got enough education in place.
Yeah, that's important to know because you got to know the price sensitivity of the product, right? I'm not talking about bottom line $13 a year or $13 a month product. There's no way you can get in there and try to get $2 off or something like that. That's not the case. If you're talking about a big ticket, if you're talking about a yearly subscription of maybe a couple of $1,000s, and it's good to qualify ahead of time. Is this the price that is a hurdle? Will you be willing to? So you have to have a way of driving this to debargain rather than just throwing debargain at everybody. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So again, you need to qualify your buyers because remember, at the end of the day, you are the seller. You got to be in control, right? You need an additional tool to help you sell not to hinder your sale, not to
Mm.
become a struggle for the buyer.
Okay. And to wrap things up, if you could go back to the moment you decided to build DBargain and give yourself one piece of advice, not about the product or the technology, but about the business, what would it be?
And advice to myself,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not
I
about the product or the technology, but about the business.
absolutely, I will give myself the advice to check the hypothesis that I have in my mind with the clients. And that's what I'm doing nowadays with the MVP. To put it out in the open, I want the people to look at it. I want the people to come back and say, your hypothesis makes sense. Or no, it's not going to work. I'm ready to take either one of those answers, right? Because in any hypothesis, there is always a yes or a no, right? So my advice would be I would have spent more time in the beginning testing my hypothesis, right? But
Mhm.
now I'm doing that. So it's a world where you do things, and if you stop doing things because of the fear of failure, then you won't do anything. So I did what I thought was right. I'm doing it. Now I'm checking the hypothesis. And one of the reasons I'm with you is I'm hoping your users or your listeners will go out, and I have a survey that I can send you the link to. They can take a survey and then they can tell me what they think about DBargain. I like to hear the people. I like to hear more and more positive or negative. I'm open for both comments to see. I've learned in this podcast where you've asked me some very, very crucial questions, and I hope I've been able to answer that. But that's what I want from a larger community. I will give you the link of the survey, put it in your description, please. That encourage your listeners to fill up the survey, if anything. And if they are an e-commerce store, for sure, if they're listening to this, they would be very interested in it. I'm offering, there's a 15-day free discount. I'm offering them an additional 15 days for filling the survey. So I really want an engagement, whereas my tool is creating a sales engagement. I want an
Mhm.
engagement with my community, with the e-commerce store owners community, to really come up and tell me what they think about this idea and give me some ideas to tweak it even further to make it better. Because I'm here to help. Remember the logo? I'm here to make the buyer and seller smile. Okay. So let them smile. That's what my motto is, that the buyer is happy that they're selling more. The seller is happy that they're buying stuff at a better price. And that's what my real goal is.
Brilliant. We'll include the link to the survey if you can send that through. But if those who are listening and watching want to find out more or connect with you, where would you recommend they head to?
Best thing to do is to just type DBargain in Google. And this is the first one that will come up, DBargain. It's called bargaining tool or something like that. We keep changing the title, but if you type DBargain, it'll show up. If you're a Shopify owner, type DBargain in the App Store. It'll show up. You go to DBargain website. There's a website that you go there, contact me. My phone number is there. My WhatsApp number is there. My email is there. Everybody can contact me, and I can give you my WhatsApp number and my email address to put in your description as well.
Will do.
Anybody's welcome to contact me. I want to hear from your listeners. I want to hear from more people to see what I'm doing here, sitting in a room in Toronto, is something viable and valuable for the e-commerce community out there.
Certainly. We'll include links to that in the show notes. Mansoor, thank you so much for doing this.
Renee, thanks for bringing me on board. I am really happy to be here. I know it took some time in the makings because of my time and your time. We missed the dates a couple of times because it's already July 2nd for you and July 1st for me. You've already been into this cycle a couple of times, but I'm so glad we managed to do this. I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk to you and your audience through you.
Pleasure. Mansoor, thank you for doing this.